it's Zzoffer and I'm back with another video. So this time you're getting the first week of Inktober for this year. Yay! Inktober, fun. So I was thinking really hard about whether I wanted to do Inktober this year or not, because if you saw one of my latest videos, you know that I'm kind of struggling to motivate myself to draw and I don't have a lot of energy and stuff for drawing. So I didn't really know if it was a good idea to do Inktober, but ultimately I decided that I wanted to. I've completed Inktober for the past 2 years, so I felt like I needed to keep on going, to keep the streak going. So yeah, I'm doing Inktober this year, but in order to not burn myself out with it and to not put too much pressure on myself, I decided that I'm doing all of the sketches off camera and that it's okay for me to sketch a lot of sketches in advance so that I don't have to sit and sketch something every day. So if there's one day where I have a lot of time, I might just do a bunch of sketches and then I can just ink the stuff on the actual day. I'm also not going to be following the official Inktober prompts, or any prompts for that matter, because in my opinion it tends to limit me and it feels very uninspiring for me to use prompts. So I'ma just draw whatever I want to draw. So for the first day I am just drawing myself, because that's what I did last year and I feel like that's a good way to start Inktober, to just draw myself and say, hello, this is I will be doing the drawings for the Inktobers. This is not how I usually draw myself. It's a bit more of a realistic take on my style, and I'm not sure I like it, but it's a thing. It's a thing that happened, so I'ma just roll with it. Well, I mean, it's not so bad, but I just really like my style to be more cartoony and more simplified. So I think that that's what I took away from this, is that I want my style to be more stylized. Yes. So if anyone's wondering, for this drawing I used my Kuretake Sumo 13 or something like that brush pen, and then I'm using a Staedtler fine liner to do the fine details, and then lastly I just used an alcohol based marker to fill in the circle behind her to add a pop of color to the piece. That's the thing that I really like to do in my Inktober pieces, to add just a little pop of color. And also I'm sorry about my head being in the frame all the time, but when I do precision work like this I tend to just continue leaning closer and closer to my drawing, so sometimes my head ends up being in the frame. I really try hard not to do that, but sometimes it's just inevitable. Yes, inevitable. Ha. I know words. I'm smart. And moving on to day 2. So for this one, my head is apparently also in the frame, so I'm sorry about that too. But for this one, I wanted to do some swirly hair that kind of looked like smoke or something. And I wanted to make like a really thin, long thing. I'm so good at words. I'm so good at explaining things. But I wanted to make this very stylized and stuff. So I'm drawing this girl with a skull mask on her face, and she has hair that's defying gravity, because that's always fun. So for this one I am using my Kuretake Sick Mangaka flexible pen in fine, if anyone's wondering. This is a pen that I received in the Scrawler box actually, and I really like it, so I use it a lot outside of Scrawler boxes. No, what I mean to say is I've used it a lot ever since I got it, because I think it's really nice. It's like a flexible felt tip, but it's also kind of sturdy, so it's not as flexible as a brush pen would be, which gives you some line variation, but it also gives you a lot of control compared to a brush pen. So I really like it. I really enjoy using this pen. Okay, so here I'm filling in the background with black because I want it to have a really high contrast, and I wanted the curls of the hair to kind of like fade into the background with the black. So I made some of them more, what would you call it? They have more lines in them to give them a different value compared to the rest of the piece so that they would fall further back in the piece, if that makes any sense at all. And I think that this is probably my favorite piece that I did this week. I really like it. It's really simple, but I think it's effective. Moving on to day 3. Today I am drawing this lovely little lady, and I'm trying to stylize it more than I usually do because I've been doing some commission work that is more stylized than my usual style, and I was trying to play around with different styles and proportions, and I ended up making one that had like a tiny torso and then super long noodle legs, and I kind of liked that, so I wanted to try and do that for this one. So she has really long skinny legs and a tiny torso. The concept of this piece is that she's like a normal kind of girl, you know. She has a sweater, she has her boots, she's wearing jeans, she's kind of simple and plain, but then she has a cape and a crown because she's like a king character, which just doesn't make sense when she's a girl, but you know, hear me out for a second. She's not a queen because that's no, she's a king. So I drew in the crown and the cape with a red Copic marker because I wanted it to be different from her. I wanted it to stand out to kind of like symbolize that it's a part of her imagination, or that it's not like, it's not there. It's just imaging. What do you call it? When it's like a metaphor, but it's, I don't know. Imagery. Oh my god, imagery. Yes, you know what I mean. It's really hard for me to say for some reason, so I'm sorry about that, but you know what I mean. And she's not looking too pleased about it because I guess the metaphor of this is that she has a lot of responsibility, that she doesn't want it. She doesn't want to have a lot of responsibility, but she has, and it's kind of hard on her. So she's kind of sad. Oh, that's kind of sad. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make it sad. For this one, I decided to do some cross hatching. I don't know what's wrong today, guys. I'm really sorry. But I decided to do some cross hatching in her hair and her boots to make it stand out more. And I also went in and made her pants all black, I believe, because when you're doing ink drawings, it's really easy for everything to start just blending together, so you need to find out a way to separate things and like show that they're separate parts and make contrast in your pieces to keep them interesting. Moving on to day 4, I am drawing Zzoffer from Wicked, or maybe just someone who resembles Zzoffer from Wicked. I don't know. It's a witch, and I should have made her skin green, but I didn't. I ended up putting a green circle behind her to kind of like symbolize the green of Zzoffer. But I'm drawing a witch character. So for this one, I was trying to make the line art be a bit more messy than what I usually do, just to loosen up and see if I could make something nice that way. And then I decided to go in with Copic markers to try and separate stuff like I was talking about before, and that was just a mistake. I always try not to use too many colors in my Inktober pieces. I like to have just one accent color sometimes. But every once in a while, I end up just going in with a lot of colors, and I always regret it because it just ends up not being very Inktober anymore. Then it just turns into a Copic drawing, and that's not what I want to do. I also don't think that I did a super amazing job at keeping a good contrast and separation between the different parts of this drawing. So this is not my favorite drawing. I really liked the sketch, but it didn't. I ruined it. Moving on to day 5, and I have a confession to make. I actually already screwed up. I did not draw this on day 5 of Inktober because I went out with some friends to hang out. And also the day after that, I also went to hang out with a friend. So I also didn't draw anything that day. So I drew day 5, day 6, and day 7 all on day 7. I screwed up already and I feel so bad about it. But that's also another thing that I told myself, that if I mess it up, it's okay for me to catch up, and it's okay for me to not always necessarily do the drawings on the days that they're supposed to be done on, if I just get them all done before I need to upload the video. So I hope you guys don't think I'm cheating too much, and I feel really bad about it. Just so you know. But on to the drawing. Today I am drawing, or for this day, I'm drawing, it's basically just fan art or a reinterpretation of someone else's art. It's because I saw this artist, or I guess she's a comic book artist or like a graphic novel artist, on Twitter, and her name I believe is Vera B, Verabee, and you can find her on Twitter if you want to. And she made this comic that's called Be Prepared, about this girl who goes to a camp, and it looks really cute. I haven't read it yet, but I really want to, and it looks so adorable, so I had to draw this in my style. This is the drawing that's on the front cover of her comic, and it's just really adorable, and I had to draw it. And for this I just used fine liners, and then I filled in some of the areas with some black ink. And I do not know how to use normal fine liners anymore, I'll tell you. I ended up making lines where they shouldn't be at all, so I tried to save it by pretending it was line weight. I've really gotten used to brush markers, or brush pens I mean. So I really don't know how to use normal fine liners without any line weight anymore. For day 6, I wanted to draw someone who was like a soldier, but not a real soldier, like a normal person. It's kind of like the one that I did with the girl who has the cape and the crown, where he's just a normal guy, but he has a sword because he's fighting evil or whatever. I don't know. This is really stupid and cliche. And then there is a shadow behind him, so he's not seeing this dangerous shadow monster behind him, but he's like looking out for danger. And then I bumped the microphone, I'm sorry. But then someone's sneaking up behind him to attack him. And I really had a hard time coming up with this shadow monster or whatever, and I was also kind of done mentally done with this at this point, so I just did this skeleton in like a shadowy cloak. It's like a half shadow monster, half skeleton kind of deal. I don't know what's going on. But I do think that I like the effect that I gave to this shadow monster, especially in the very tip, or whatever you want to call it, like the bottom of it where it's kind of fading out. I really like that. I think it's cool. So the composition of this piece is maybe not the best, and also the technical drawing aspect of it might also be a bit lacking. But that's what happens when you force yourself to draw every day. Not everything turns out amazing, and that's probably fine. I'll just have to deal with it. That being said, I do think that I like the way that it turned out. So for day 7, I wanted to do something super simple and very like graphic and with a lot of contrast, like simple but with a lot of thought behind it, I guess. So I'm drawing this cute little girly, and half of her face is covered by hair, and yeah, she's just very simple and very graphic. And later I go in and fill her hair in black with a permanent marker. And I also did make this red circle behind her because I just felt like it needed something, a little something extra, because it was a bit too simple. So she has a little pop of color. And I think that this is really the essence of what I want to do with the pops of color. I want to have them not take over the piece and turn them into a colored piece, but just kind of add a little bit of interest and focus to the drawing. And I think that this one is kind of what I want to go for. I mean, not that simple, but like in clarity, it's really what I want to go for the rest of my Inktober pieces. So I think I'm going to start focusing a bit more on that for the next ones. But that is about it for this video, because this is the last one for this week. So I hope that you guys enjoyed seeing what I've been up to this Inktober, and I hope that you want to keep following it, because I'm going to keep posting it. So stay tuned to see more Inktober drawings. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you later.